Colin Mockett. Welcome to the Sustainable Hour. And what do you have for us today?
Hello, Mick. I've got a couple of really interesting little things. The first one is that the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte, as you is not down as one of our regular people who we would be quoting. He's the fellow who's has a war on drugs, and he's allowed his police to really put on their own, vigilante. But he has decided that climate change is now going to be a much larger item in his government. And in December of last year, he brought out a new scheme that he called the TRAIN, which is the Tax Reform and Acceleration and Inclusion Bill. And that has excise and taxes on imported coal, with the idea that it goes up annually each year, and that is pushing his power companies in the Philippines to reduce the amount of coal-fired power generation throughout the Philippines. And it's already working. It's September now. It's had 10 months. It is working. They are now closing down coal-fired power stations. It's Australian coal that they're burning as a general rule, and they're switching now over to wind-powered. They don't have too many of the standard type things. They haven't got the opportunity. When you look at their geography, they haven't got the opportunity to put in things like hydro power, because they don't have too many high rivers that you can dam and create, and they don't have geothermal. So they're now looking at solar energy, and they're looking at wind power, and as such they have been shifted up into the top 20 in the world of countries that are now moving in a positive way. And another two that have come into this moving into the top 20 from outside of the top 20 are, believe it or not, China and America, both of whom are really large users, but both of whom are right now moving into more positive areas on using sustainable energy, to the extent that both of them are going to become, without a doubt, into the top 10, despite the fact that they continue to use a lot of electricity that is creating at the moment. They're both the world's largest two creators of greenhouse gases, but at the moment they are both moving so fast in the area of replacing coal-fired, which is the CO2 producing, and putting in retrainable stuff. And the other one, the third one that's come into it, is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has one of the really strange people that's pushed the United Kingdom into its sustainable impetus, and that's the Queen. The Queen's properties throughout the UK are now all being shifted over to sustainable energy. And she's got large holdings in Scotland, and there are times in Scotland when all of its power is being created by wind energy. All the power that it uses as a nation, there are considerable amounts of time now where it's 100% Scotland. And much of that is thanks to the Queen. Now, if you really look at your leadership, the Queen is the leader of Australia. She's our titular head. You have to ignore the Prime Minister and his cohorts. They give no leadership at all. But our true leader, if you like, the Queen, is very much into sustainable energy. So let's take a bit from there. And I think you can also say that in America, Donald Trump is not pro renewable energy, but America is moving that way despite him. It's the opposite way with China. It's being led from the top. China has said, hey, look, we're creating pollution. The main cities are very polluted. We're going to solve it. and that comes from the leadership at the top. A bit like Duterte. If your leaders say we're going to do it, it happens. In America and in Australia, it's happening despite our leaders.
That's right. And the good news is that we are heading for 50% renewables, regardless of what government is doing in a way, by 2025 here in this country.
Yep.
So be aware of that.
Yep. There you go. That's my world outlook for the day.
That's so important to have this global outlook. Thank you, Colin Mockett. And I want to continue on that thread just briefly, because Q&A, did you watch Q&A on ABC this Monday night? It's such an extraordinary program, because this is really where the nation is talking. And this was an interesting one. It was a high school special. So it was school students in the panel. And a lot of them in the audience as well, asking questions and so on. And then there were two politicians. And in this clip I want to play here, they're talking about bushfires and climate change. And again, they're talking about China and America, and using this is the liberal youth member who's saying that, well, you know, America and China are so big and they're polluting so much, you know, so they're kind of using that as an excuse that this is the reason we should be doing it too, or something.
Yeah, well, no,
but
I don't really know what their argument is in that regard. Well, they bring in the per capita thing, don't they? They say we don't use very much per capita.
Oh, we do. Because we're world leaders in that. 22 tons per
population.
person.
Yep.
Yeah. This is Barnaby Joyce saying. Therefore, we have so little influence on the global. You know, we 1.5% of global emissions.
Yep.
But you know, imagine if we had that same attitude with other things in life.
Oh yeah.
You know, for instance, about how we deal with our garbage.
Yep.
You know, that because others are being pigs somewhere else, then we should just be pigs ourselves.
Yep.
Hey.
Oh, look, that's never a winning argument, is it?
No, not in a civilized world.
No.
You know, so it's actually a very uncivilized argument. But anyway, thank you very much for this global perspective, Colin Mockett. It's wonderful to kick off like that.
For green, clean, sustainable Geelong. The Sustainable Hour.